Not all of us may be able to travel to some country overseas to serve where the need is great, but in many lands there are certain areas where there is a great need for local publishers to move in and preach. Brother L.F. Jontes, branch servant from France, conducts the discussion on filling the need in our own country.
Jehovah is the great shepherd. He takes a personal interest in the work of gathering the sheep, for they belong to him. This great shepherd, for whom there is not a creation that is not manifest to his sight, knows exactly where the sheep are. He knows where the false shepherds have scattered them, and he has decided that they must be gathered. I will deliver them out of all places, whether they have been scattered in the clouded and dark day. And I will bring them out from the peoples, and gather them from the countries, and will bring them into their own land. And I will feed them upon the mountains of Israel, by the watercourses, and in all the inhabited places of the country. So Jehovah knows where the need is great. He knows also why the need is great, for he knows both the day and hour when the accomplished end will come. To meet this urgent need, he has selected the very best one among his servants and has appointed him to supervise the ingathering and feeding of the sheep. And I will set up one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them, even my servant David. He shall feed them, and he shall be their shepherd. This one shepherd, the right shepherd Christ Jesus, once said, I know my sheep. So he also knows where they are, hence where the need is great. He has committed the detailed organizing of the work of feeding and feeding the sheep to the faithful and discreet slave, which works through its legal instrument, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania. In fulfilling its chartered purposes, one of which is to send out to the various parts of the world religious missionaries, teachers, and instructors in the Bible, this society, in cooperation with its branches, has made a special point of locating those places where there are not sufficient witnesses to find and feed the sheep. The society's findings on this crucial question were made known at the 1957 district assemblies in the talk, Serving Where the Need is Great, and again by a long special letter sent shortly afterwards to all congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses. Thus, Jehovah, the great shepherd, acting through the good shepherd Christ Jesus and through his visible instrument, has placed the load of responsibility squarely upon the shoulders of his witnesses to go preach where the need is great. He knows that in such places there are many sheep-like ones who, through lack of Bible instruction, are staggering to the slaughter of Armageddon. He holds us responsible for their lives. To us, his witnesses, he says, deliver those who are being taken away to death and those staggering to the slaughter, if you would be spared. Put that way, our own lives depend upon meeting to the best of our ability this crying need. Crying need Yes, literally a crying need, for the Society's headquarters and branch offices have received hundreds of letters from weak congregations, isolated publishers, and persons of goodwill crying out for help. Not to speak of the thousands of lost sheep who are still unaware of the great shepherd's loving provisions for them. So a call has gone out around the world for brothers and sisters, young and old, individual and entire family units, to serve where the need is great. Some have been able to answer the call by going out into other lands, and those who can do this are encouraged to do so. But what of those with a missionary spirit, who have valid reasons for not being able to leave their own country? Need they be denied the privilege of sharing in this useful adventure of pulling up the tent pegs and moving off to some place where the need is great? In my country, France, the answer to that question is obvious. We have only 12,000 publishers for a population of 44 million, or one witness for over 3,600 people. This average suffices to show that the need is great in France, but even it does not give the true picture, because these 12,000 publishers are not evenly distributed throughout the country. 9,300 publishers are located in the mining region of the north, in Paris, Lyon, and in the towns of Alsace and Lorraine. But throughout the rest of France, representing 31 million people, there are only 2,700 publishers, or one for 11,500 people. So, a special call has been sent to publishers living in the north, the east, Paris, and Lyon, to fill the need in their own country by moving to places where little or no witnessing is being done. But perhaps you live in a country where there are many more witnesses than in France in proportion to the population. Does that mean that the only way you can answer the call is by going to some other land? Probably your country does not have such a high proportion of publishers as Canada, where there is one witness for less than 460 people. And yet, as you will hear a little later during this talk, even the brothers from Canada have the opportunity to fill the need in their own country. And the same is true of the brothers from Britain and from these United States. In fact, no country can claim to have sufficient publishers everywhere. Besides, the very expression sufficient publishers is meaningless. So let us face it, there is a need to be filled in our own country, wherever we are from. Most publishers have come to realize that a very real need exists in their land due to the uneven distribution of the witnesses throughout the territory. And they know that if all the lost sheep are to be gathered, there must be a certain leveling off or decentralization of the total publishers available in a country. They see the need, but they are holding back. Why? Could it be that nice, secure job? It leaves me so much free time for the service and for attending meetings. Could it be that pension that you will receive from your firm if you stay with them for another 10 years? And then I shall be able to be a pioneer. Could it be that comfortable house that will be all yours in 5 years' time? And then I shall have no rent or mortgage to pay, and think how much money I will be able to contribute to the society. Full of good intentions, aren't you? But frankly, don't you think the society is more interested in your serving where the need is great now, rather than in your increasing your contribution prospect in 10 years' time, or becoming a pioneer in 5 years' time? 10 years' time. These lost sheep need help now, not in 5 or 10 years' time. Maybe your present job does leave you much free time. But is this time being used to the best advantage? Facts show that the publishers with the best service reports are not always those who have the most free time. Zeal is more a question of mental attitude than of physical opportunity. And moving somewhere where the need is great has a wonderful stimulating effect upon one's mental attitude. Even if you are putting your abundant free time to good use, strange as it may seem, you may be able to do more good elsewhere, even though spending less time in the service. The June 15, 1958 issue of the Watchtower recounts the experiences of a pioneer couple who went to work on an island where the need was great. The change actually meant that the brother had to give up pioneering and take a secular job demanding 200 hours a month. But his wife pioneered while he devoted his evenings and weekends to preaching. The result? Whereas there was only one publisher in that island in 1951, in April 1957, there were already 175, and doubtless the number has increased since then. If the two pioneers had continued pioneering back home, would they have been the means of bringing 175 persons into the truth in just over 5 years? Probably not. In a few moments' time, you will hear some personal experiences from brothers who have already answered the call to serve where the need is great in their own country. They are just a few examples of the hundreds of families throughout the world who have gone forth to serve in other towns. These brothers and sisters are not supermen or superwomen. They had their natural weaknesses to overcome. They had heart pangs leaving their hometown relatives and friends and the large congregation they had been used to. They had their problems and their moments of discouragement and doubt. But they all had something in common that permitted them to overcome, persevere, and reap Jehovah's blessing, namely, the type of attitude it takes to pull up the tent pegs and move to where the need is great. They were all filled with the missionary spirit, with zeal and determination. They had faith in Jehovah. They felt warm love for the sheep they were going to help. They were willing to deprive themselves to some degree of the comforts they had been used to. They were willing to work harder for lower wages. They were willing to take Christ Jesus at his word when he said, "And everyone that has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or children or lands for the sake of my name will receive many times more and will inherit everlasting life." So, let us listen to these heartwarming experiences from the following brothers. David Park from the United States, Hugh Davies from England, Antoine Skalecki from France, and also a family from Canada, Daniel, Helen, and Bernice Wall.
I listened intently as the speaker at the 1957 Baltimore District Assembly gave the stirring talk, "Serving Where the Need is Great." What a privilege, I thought. What an opportunity. Could I step over into Macedonia, I wondered. At the close of the talk, one thing was certain. I wanted to serve where the need was great. During the talk, I had observed my wife's keen interest and sensed that her feelings were the same as mine. Of course, going to another state would mean giving up a good job and turning our backs on what is commonly called security. We had just unburdened ourselves of a large debt, and things were going quite well for us. A year or two more at the present rate of saving, and we would really be all set. But the call for help was for the present. So if we could possibly answer the call now, we knew we should. Within 2 weeks, the decision was made, and a letter was on its way to the society. Soon the society's answer came. A small congregation in northwest Georgia needed help. 6 weeks later, with lumps in our throats as we left old friends in Pennsylvania, but with joy in our hearts as we anticipated meeting new ones, my wife, our 2 boys, aged 9 and 6, and I headed toward Georgia. As we met the other friends and heard their sincere expression of gratitude that we had come to help, we were humbly grateful to Jehovah for this privilege of service. As quickly as possible, we got the necessary furniture, got settled, and organized for service that weekend. From that first weekend of activity until now, 9 months later, there have been thrilling experiences aplenty. In the last 5 months, 7 new publishers joined us in singing the new song. We made it in April with a 35% increase. I have found that words cannot fully describe all the blessings, all the inner joy and contentment, and the closer relationship with Jehovah that is gained by serving where the need is great.
My wife, a 10-year-old son, 8-year-old daughter, and myself were all united in the desire to serve where the need is great. But there were many things to take into consideration. Could we bear to leave our lovely home and garden? The garden produce enabled me to pioneer, and the smooth running home made it possible for my wife to share in the full-time service too. The school was near and good. Would this be so if we moved? Could I find part-time work to fit in with my hours? First, we made the decision. We would go. We asked the society for names of places and were given suggestions. Next, we got hold of the local newspapers for finding living accommodation, etc. We soon realized that we needed to be on the spot, so we traveled all night to our destination. We house hunted for 3 days, and the very last place we saw was ideal. If my wife and I needed any proof that we had the truth, we certainly were given it when we saw the love that unknown brothers showered upon us during those few days. Naturally, the schooling of the children is important, and we wondered if a small village school would be sufficient grounding for their theocratic training as ministers. How happy we are now to see them being given individual attention, which they did not get in the larger school. In fact, all the difficulties disappeared and all the blessings came once we made the decision to move where the need is great. It is great. The results we have achieved in these few weeks show how much there is to be done. So next time you think, not this street again, or what, so soon? I only worked this last month. Think of your brothers where the need is great and make up your mind to join them. They really want and need your help. Won't you answer the call?
As soon as the society appealed to the brothers to go and work other towns in France, I began to make preparation to answer that call. I was a miner, and as such, I was provided with a nice house, and I had only 7 more years of light work before I could qualify for a pension and retire. I had a wife and child to care for, but I thought, well, there may be 200,000 miners in France, but there are 40 million people who make their living in other ways. So I decided to quit the mines. Thus, in 1953, my family and I went to Toulouse in the south of France. What a joy it was for those brothers down there in Toulouse. They were waiting at the railroad station to welcome us when we arrived. And ever since then, this love has increased. We arrived on Saturday afternoon, and on Sunday morning we went out in the work with the local brothers. Here we could talk to the people and could place the publications, something we were not able to do easily in the mining town we had left. Then I had to begin to look around for a job in order to provide for the needs of my family. And so I began to work in a hotel. I soon learned that one could live just as well and with less effort than in the mines. Good and honest workers are always sought for, so Jehovah's Witnesses have no trouble finding work. We have seen that obedience and the efforts we put forth in Jehovah's service are well rewarded. There are now 100 publishers in Toulouse as compared with 13 when we arrived, and the congregation is now well organized. How happy we are to have responded to the invitation to serve where the need is great. We will never regret this decision, which has brought us so much happiness. Therefore, brothers, you who are working in towns where there are many publishers, consider this matter of serving where the need is great. Many joys and privileges of service await you if you answer the call.
It is almost a year now since I left my home and my friends elsewhere in Canada to come east to serve where the need is great. In 1954, with a mining boom developing near us, I found myself with what I had been a part-time trailer business, now a booming enterprise. What I had hoped to use as an aid to me and the pioneer proved to be a trap. It would have taken all my time and energy had I allowed it to do so. Soon it became an effort to find time to keep up with the kingdom interests. It became harder and harder to find time for the meetings until finally, in August of 1956, my wife and I decided to unload it all before we were sucked down in the mire of materialism. The Kingdom Ministry was offering a chance for us to serve where the need was great. Once our minds were made up, everything seemed to fit into its place. In April of 1957, with our home and business sold, I could again work toward making pioneering my goal. We arrived in our assignment in a large eastern city on September the 6th, 1957, accompanied by our two younger children. How thankful I was to Jehovah to be free from the snares of this old corrupt world. Also, now I was able to serve and be of some assistance to my brothers where the need was great. It is not easy to make the break, but we now would not go back to where we came from. We love our assignment, and in Jehovah's organization, we have friends wherever we go. We are hoping that after this assembly, that many more from other parts will unload the burdens of Satan's old world, which is a subtle trap, brothers, and come and help us. We indeed, where we're at now, the workers are few. Can't you come and help us in the harvest and serve where the need is great?
Spiritually, I feel that we have gained much by the change that we have made. How different a life from the hectic pursuit of old world living. Now we have more time to study, more time to spend with our children, and so much more time to devote to the service. Best of all, now I feel very happy in knowing that no more am I holding my husband back from pursuing his purpose in life. What more reward could I ask than to hear my husband say, I could not have done it without the cooperation of my wife? How many of you sisters are willing to accept the challenge and come east to help us? I am sure that you will soon realize, as I have, that it is not such a big sacrifice as it seems. Do not hold back because you personally cannot pioneer. Do not let anyone discourage you into thinking it cannot be done. It can be done, and you too can be very happy as a wife of a full-time servant of Jehovah, serving where the need is great.
I miss my friends from home, but I am very glad to be able to say that I have helped some of my new friends into the service, and now they are regular publishers. I know now that I am needed here more than I was at home. I just hope that after New York Assembly, more of my friends from home will come here and help to tell many more about the new world. The need for publishers is greater here, So won't you come and help us?
Don't those fine, upbuilding experiences make you wonder why you have thus far deprived yourself of this wonderful privilege of feeling the need in your own country? If the desire has sprung up in your heart to serve where the need is great, as Paul said, do not put out the fire of the Spirit by letting months go by before taking steps to fulfill your godly desire. Carefully and prayerfully consider the matter and then start preparing. What steps are necessary in order to make your heartfelt wish a thrilling reality? Your local branch office has doubtless already made known the general areas of your country where the need is great. So the first thing for you to do is to write to the society, stating the region or regions where you would be willing to go and asking for suggestions as to the precise place or places where you would be useful. You can state your preferences for large cities, small towns, or rural territory. In this initial letter, include a short description of your background in the truth and say which congregation you are at present associated with and the position of service you hold, if any. Also, state when you think you may be able to free yourself to make the move. The society will then write you a personal letter giving you the information you require and, generally speaking, will suggest 2 places where the need is great and where you could do good work. If there is a congregation in these places, the society will send you the address of the congregation servant. The next step for you is to write to the congregation servant, or, if no congregation exists, to the local chamber of commerce or labor exchange regarding secular work, living accommodation, etc. Whether you get a favorable answer or not, the head of the family may decide to make a visit to the place chosen to get matters settled on the spot, ready for the whole family. When once things are well on the move and you are preparing to go, write a second letter to the society stating which place you will be moving to and when you plan on moving the move. The society will then send you any additional information available, such as the addresses of any people of goodwill who may live in that area. If you are unsuccessful in making arrangements to move to either of the places suggested, write to the society asking for further suggestions. Or, if due to some unforeseen circumstances you are unable to make the proposed move, please inform the society so that those places can be offered to other brothers. The society is desirous of progressively filling the needs throughout each country. So brothers are asked to advise the society whether or not they can accept the assignment and when they will go. In that way, this great campaign can be properly coordinated. Now, just a word of caution to those who will be moving to help out a small congregation where the need is great, and a word of counsel to the brothers already in that congregation and who will be receiving help. When zealous brothers leave large, well-organized congregations in answer to the society's call and go to give a helping hand to weak congregations, they are liable to get a shock when they get there. What a difference from their old congregation. No smart kingdom hall. No sleek speaker's podium rigged with a cute little light to twinkle when the speaker's time is up. No ministry school library. No well-organized service centers. Perhaps no midweek meetings. The Watchtower study, service meeting, ministry school, and congregation book study all being held in one unending Sunday afternoon session. So what do they do? Do they take the congregation servant on one side and say to him, "Look, brother, we have accepted the society's call to serve where the need is great. That is why we are here. Now, this congregation is in a real mess. This is how a congregation should be organized." And then go off applying to a little congregation of a few widely scattered publishers, the organizational setup of a big city congregation over 100 publishers? Should they come breezing in and tell the local congregation servant that what he has done is all wrong? The result would be a feeling of resentment on the part of the local man, and then, when he fails to respond to their pep talks, a feeling of frustration on the part of the newcomers. What a pity that would be. They have made the sacrifice of leaving their previous jobs, their homes, their old congregation to come here to help, and through starting off on the wrong foot, the whole purpose is thwarted. Maybe the congregation is in a mess, and that is why the society suggested they might go there. But they should remember that the local congregation servant has been doing his best. Perhaps many things do need improving, but it will take time to improve them, and much love, much tact. So let brothers going to help weak congregations be patient, tactful, and loving. On the other hand, the local brothers should appreciate the help offered, accepting such as loving consideration from Jehovah and his organization. None should resist progress. A real bond of love and unity should exist between those sent in to help and those already there. Then the whole arrangement will be greatly blessed by Jehovah. And brothers, what a blessed arrangement this can be. Just imagine, hundreds of weak congregations are going to be helped because hundreds of you are going to answer the call to serve where the need is great. Thousands of sheep-like ones are going to be found and fed in unworked territories because many of you are going to leave your hometown and go to look for them. They are there. Jehovah can see them. He can hear their cry for help, for they are wandering like sheep without a shepherd. That is why he has sent out a call to you to go and help them, because their need is great. Can you see them? Do you feel tender affection for them? The right shepherd, Christ Jesus, invites us. Look, I say to you, lift up your eyes and view the field, that they are white for harvesting. Of him it is written, on seeing the crowds, he felt tender affection for them, because they were skinned and knocked about like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, Yes, the harvest is great, but the workers are few. Therefore, beg the master of the harvest to send out workers into his harvest. We have begged Jehovah to provide workers in those parts of the field where the need is the greatest. He is answering our prayers by quickening the minds, opening the hearts, and blessing the efforts of those, young and old, individual and family units, who are leaving houses, relatives, and lands for the sake of the work. Will you be among them? Yes, among those of whom Jesus said that for making such sacrifices they will receive many times more and will inherit everlasting life? Will you answer the call to serve in your own country where the need is great? Prayerfully consider the matter, and may Jehovah bless your efforts to heed the call.